So, how are you, everyone?
Fine.
Okay. So, we are starting the class right away, so the rest can join us as as we go. Now, we are looking at Linux in particular. So, I want to share my presentation. I hope you can all see my screen. Can you see my screen? I need response.
Yes.
Okay. Now, we are talking about Linux. Now, why do we need Linux? Linux is an operating system. Just like we have Windows, we also have Linux. Linux is character-based operating system, while Windows is graphical, GUI, graphical user interface, while Linux is character user interface. Now, we have a lot of reasons. Can you all mute your audio now? Okay. Just mute your audio, mute your video, and listen. When I need you to on your audio or your audio, I will let you know so that you will respond. Now, when we talk about Linux, Linux is a powerful tool that helps us to accomplish so many things. Now, I told you a lot of benefits you can get from Linux. All of our smartphones, or most, don't let me say all, most of our smartphones we use today, they are powered by Linux. Now, if you understand Linux very well, you should be able to write a mini OS for your phone, for a smartphone, and which will mean a whole lot to you. So a lot of benefits are good to Linux because it's an open source application, open source software that different people has enhanced it over the years. But Windows is close to and tied to a particular person that not everybody can put in their brain, can put in their resources into it. It's just showcasing the dream of one man, not unlike Linux. Linux is open, different people write Linux. That is why you have different versions of Linux. Now, I told you there's smartphones to car we use today to supercomputer and home appliances, home desktop to enterprise servers runs Linux operating system. Linux has been around since 1990 and a whole lot. I'm going to share this manual with everyone. I'm sending it to every one of you that does not have it so that we can go through. But today class is a very practical class. Now, we're going to be looking at bootloader, kernel, init system, daemons, desktop environment, application. When you talk about bootloaders, you are talking about those softwares that manages boot process, that manages the installation, just like Grub, just like Lilo in in Linux in particular. Now we have kernel. I've given you the definition there. We have init system. Now this is like a new beginning for us, not unlike Windows, which we need to sit down, look at it very well, digest it, understand the meaning before it can become part of us. Now, when you have desktop environment, you see anything called genome. Genome is referred to desktop environment. Now on Linux, you can easily run a command. The command will convert your Linux either to GUI or convert it vice versa to character user interface. Now, why do we use Linux? It is an open source. Presently, let me tell you the difference between the developed countries and the developing or underdeveloped. Now, let me use India as an example. India to pick up an open source called Asterix. Please mute your audio. I'm getting some feeders. Mute your audio. Mute your audio. Mute your audio. Now, Indians get the open source, build asterisks. If you can achieve that, I'm still getting the fillers. Mute your audio, please. So, as I told you, Indians will get the open source, compile the Linux called Asterix, and they get an interface and use it to make calls instead of the regular Panasonic PBS we buy all around. So that is what that is generating money and income for an Indian or for a developed world. So we can also configure that using Linux to have a PBS, voice over IP, and make calls. You can even call your GSM and also receive call to your Linux machine using, you can also receive call from vice versa using your Linux box, which is very interesting. If you deploy that to an organization, do you know what it means to you? It's a big stuff. Rather than staying idle that there's nothing. So we can use Linux to do quite a whole lot of things. Most of the websites we run today, they are all seated on Linux web server called Apache. So a lot of things, proxy, so many things, firewall, so many things Linux can achieve for you. And remember, it is a virus-free OS. Virus does not attack it. Unlike Windows, malware does not affect it. Ransomware does not affect it. Linux is generally far less vulnerable to attack. Just like we have our Windows. Now we have a lot of distributions in Linux. A lot of distributions. We have a Linux Mint, we have Manjaro, we have Debian, we have Ubuntu, we have Fedora Core, we have OpenSUSE, we have Red Hat. Red Hat is the main umbrella, and we have CentOS. CentOS is from Red Hat. Some people will tell you they want to come up with Ubuntu. Some people will tell you they want to use CentOS. But when you go to Red Hat is not free. If you are writing certification on Linux, it's Red Hat. It is not free. So that is why Red Hat has a child version called CentOS that you can use. So CentOS is a replica of Red Hat. So that's why most people are using CentOS. And we're going to use CentOS today. CentOS is referring to CentOS, Cent operating system. CentOS. That's why they call it CentOS. CentOS operating system. Now, all these versions has some similarities in commands that if you understand one very well, you can flow with the other ones. Now you need to know the best distribution that is good for you. So look at the structure of Linux. It has root. Root is like the administrator. Administrator in Windows is root in Linux. It has different directories. We have SBIN, etc., things like that. They told us, users have their files in O, while bin all commands used for ordinary users. SBIN all the commands used by super users. It is installed configuration files, while var is like variable. Log files are kept. Lib is libraries. It has software packages. We have USR. USR is like user directory. That's where we have files used by users. And we have source, SRC, and we have also local. Okay, now, when we come to the description, we have bin. You can always read all this up. I want to actually go to the practical section. I want to be cool with the practical so that we will flow through and understand better. Now, all this, you're going to read them through on your own and see how you can properly address them. Now, let me explain this scenario. I'm having 3 servers. 2 servers for Linux. You can see lab 1 for Linux. You can see lab 2 for Linux. you can see lab 3 for Windows. Now, in this case, I can configure lab 1 and configure my network files. I'm going to show you how to do that. Configure the same thing, replicate the same thing to lab 2. You see how it runs, meaning you can pick each other. I can also have another server of Windows Server, meaning I can network Linux and Windows box together. Now, look at my Hyper-V. I'm going to use Hyper-V. I'm going to use Hyper-V for my stuff now. So look at my Hyper-V. You can have as many labs. Now, Hyper-V is the hypervisor type of virtualization for Microsoft. You can choose not to use Hyper-V. It's not a must. You can use VMware. You can use VMware Workstation that you have on. You can put that on your laptop and install it. You can use Oracle Box. You can use anything that gives you virtual environment to do your lab. But in my own case, as a Microsoft expert, I choose to go with my VMware, my Hyper-V. And I'm going to show you some little things about how to configure Hyper-V as we move on. So this is telling you step-by-step instruction how to install CentOS. It's very easy with this. So when you get to this is the login interface of CentOS. So we're going to see step-by-step how to install Linux on our system. So that should be the end of the theory. I want to move to the practical section now. Okay, now I'm going to share my desktop. This is my desktop of my Hyper-V. So I'm going to explain briefly how you can set up Hyper-V, but to start with, you must have a good system, Core i5 or Core i7, a good memory, 8 gig, 16 gig, 32 gig. You must have a good memory on your system. Now, after which, hello? Can you on your audio and respond? Some people are saying they are not hearing me. If you are hearing me, can you say hi? Hello? David, are you hearing me? Kolawole, are you hearing me?
I'm hearing you.
David, you are hearing me. That's good. Then Kolawole, are you hearing me? Because some people, David, you are hearing me now, right? David, you are hearing me now? Okay, so let's move on in the class. I want the class to be okay. Can you all see my screen? I hope you are all seeing my screen.
Yes,
Okay. Are you responding? I need a response. Can you see my screen?
yes, you can.
Hello, I need a response. Hello? Hello, David. Hello, Wale.
I'm seeing it. Color only see your screen. I'm seeing your screen, please.
Okay. Okay. Kolawole is see my screen.
Yes, I can see it. I can see it.
Okay. David, can you see my screen? Hello, David. Hello, David. I need a response. Hello, David. You are seeing my screen. Okay. So if you are seeing my screen, just mute now. Mute. Wale, can you see my screen?
Yes, I can see it. I can see it, please.
Okay.
I can see it, please.
Okay. Now,
Hello? Hello?
yeah. Yes, I'm with you. Can you see my screen?
No, sir. This is audio call.
Use the link. I gave you a link on the group. Click on the link to join so that you see what
Okay,
is
sir.
going on.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
No, I cannot hear you, David. Okay, I want to continue. Now, I want to show you how to configure Hyper-V. The first thing you will do is that you will reboot your desktop if you're having Windows 10. You have to reboot. Please mute your audio. Mute your audio. Now, the first thing you have to do is to reboot your system. As your system is coming up, go to the BIOS, depending on the laptop you are using. If you are using HP, you know either F9 or F10 takes you to the BIOS. If you are using Dell, either F2 takes you to the BIOS. Go to the processor. You will see virtualization. Virtualization. So you will see either enabled, yes or no. You enable it. It's disabled by default. Make sure it is enabled on your processor. Number one. Number two, you now get to your system, add and remove. You come to control panel. Can you see what I'm doing? Can you see what I'm doing? You come to control panel, come to as if you want to uninstall an application, program and future. You now see turn Windows feature on or off. Turn Windows feature on or off. You will now come here, look at it here. Hyper-V, you check it. You come here again. You come here again, you see Windows Hypervisor platform, you check it. So once you check it, you come to your browser and type Hyper. Hyper. You have your Hyper-V manager. So once you have your Hyper-V manager, so the next thing I configure, I have virtual switch manager. Now I have to configure my virtual switch manager to exactly what I am using. Now look at it. I have external, I have internal, I have private. Now I have external, internal, and private. Now so I'm going to explain briefly what each does. Now, coming to my Coming to my external. External is I want it to interact with external network. I can have my server in the virtual environment and control users in my on my network. That's external. Now, if I have internal, internal will only interact with my system, not external network. So, but private will not see my system at all. Private will just be within the LAN alone. But in this case, I am using the default. I can create anything. So if you look at it, my default is binded to my wireless adapter. So I'm using wireless where I am now. So my default is binded to my wireless adapter. So that is how to configure my virtual network. Now, I go to my virtual machine. I go to the settings of my virtual machine. I have all these properties. Look at my memory. I have 3 gig. Look at my starting memory. I have 512. Look at my processor. I have 3 processor core. Look at my hard disk. I've mounted my ISO. I mounted my ISO. Sorry, my DVD. I've mounted my ISO image. If it's a live DVD, I use this place. Now, my network, I choose my default switch. So the next thing I do now is to connect and click start. So I've started installing my operating system, my Linux operating system. I use enter. Now all I am doing now is on the manual, so it's easier for you. So for some the students that were in the last class, they have the manual already. But for new people, I'm going to send the manual to you. So, or it's like I've sent the manual to everybody already. Go through the manual. The installation is just straightforward. I'm doing direct installation. Now, so I'm waiting for the stuff to come up. So when it gets to almost finalizing window, it has come to here. I need to choose my language. I need to choose language. So we have 2 types of installation. It's either I use the default installation and let the Windows do the partitioning for me, or I customize it. But in this case, I am not customizing it. I'm doing a direct installation so that it will look easier for you. By the time you are strong with this, you can also do a whole lot of things with it. This guy needs to clear. So look at it, automatic partitioning selected. I proceed. So I come here, I give it a root password, which is the admin password. Okay. So I'm waiting for the installation to complete. This is just all I need to do. If you look at it down, you can see 4 of 310. By the time the installation is completed, it will let us know that it is completed. So we can discuss at this point. If you have anything to discuss with me, let's discuss at this point, pending when the installation is still up. Can you see 83 of 310? Can you unmute your mic? Can you unmute your mic? Unmute your mic. Can you unmute your mic? Okay. Unmute your mic. Unmute your mic. So while we wait for the installation to complete, let us make it an interactive section. Linux is an interesting program. I don't just want to teach you Linux and you just go. Don't see it as something serious. Don't see it as something difficult. Well, it's something serious. See it as something serious. But don't take it as something that is not serious. I will not be happy when you go back home, you fail to practice it. You have to practice it. You have to set it up and you have to make it work. That is the essence of the class of today. So it's an interesting thing. Putting your mind into it and see what you will achieve with it. You must be able to install it locally. You must be able to install it normally before you can begin to use it to do whatever you want to do. We can use Linux to do virtually a lot of things, a whole lot of things, depending on what you want to achieve. So let me hear our view as regard this. Do you have any question so far? That's why I said you unmute your mic and talk to me. You have any concern? So if you want to talk, let me know what your name is and speak loud, please. David, can you hear me now? David. So if you can hear me, unmute your mic and speak. Let me hear you.
Okay, now I can hear you.
David, you can hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
I can hear you, sir.
That's good. Can Wale hear me? He's the only one that has not unmuted himself. Don't mute. Remain on mute. We want to have a discussion. Good. Remain on mute. Jerry, you muted yourself.
Eh?
You have muted yourself. Unmute yourself. Don't mute. Now, I need us to talk as a professional. How can I come in to help you to become more better in your field? Or what are your fears? What are your fears Why can't you practicalize it? Does Linux look difficult? So I want to hear from you.
Like, are you talking about the class today right now?
In view of the class of today and launching forward what you want to achieve basically, because the class is not ending today. After the class has ended today, you project the class. Continue. So, what is your view? What are your fears? What are things you intend to achieve? Or what are the constraints? Just let's know. So that I just want you to move on. Let's know your name first before you tell us your view. Anybody can start. Anybody can start, because once my installation is completed, I may not be able to ask you this question again.
Okay, I'm David Oladimeji.
Okay.
So concerning the class, the Linux class, though I don't really have any major experience with Linux, so it's kind of new to me. But I hope to build from it from now, if possible, even get an employment relating to it.
Okay. Okay. What about the rest? The rest are not talking. Kolawole, you want to say something?
I'm enjoying the class. I already have the Linux system.
Okay.
Not the install one on the one I can install with a CD on my system. So I'm just waiting for the next stage now to just forge ahead with that.
Okay. So, what about Mr. Wale? We need to hear your voice. Hello, Wale. The question is, what are your fears? Is there anything that can make this class to die, as you just learnt it, that's make it to die without you furthering into it? I just want you to pick interest and merge it with what you do and move on with life. Is there anything? That's the question. Is there anything that can stop you, or what are those things you are looking at that can stop you, that will not enable you to proceed or to continue? So that's what we are discussing. What are the challenges? What are the hurdles? Because we did this class the
question that
I'm with you.
okay, is this question directed to me?
You said?
Because I actually have responded. I'm just waiting for the next thing on the class. Since I already have it installed in my system.
Okay. Okay. Now, my own counsel is this. You see, I'm seeing a lot of vacancies. I'm seeing a whole lot of vacancies. Now, they will tell me, I am looking for Linux administrator. The same thing you do on Windows, you should be able to do on Linux. So if you don't understand Linux, it will limit you. If Windows Server job is not coming forward, you will not be able to get job. So you must understand Windows, you must understand Linux. You don't just fold your hands and stay at a spot. You understand Windows, you can do Windows, you should be able to also do Linux. That is what the class is meant for. The class is meant to empower you to be dynamic. Don't be static. You must be dynamic. That is the essence of the class, and that is what I want to achieve. Do you understand? Good. I've not heard the voice of Wole. Jeremiah, I've not heard your voice. Wallace, I've not heard your voice. Can Jeremiah hear me? Can Jeremiah hear me? Can Wole hear me? So if you notice, there is a little bit improvement in today's network, unlike last training that the network was just breaking and breaking and breaking. Well, that's the reason why I had to bring the class again, so that we'll fully enjoy the class. Once this one is completed, we have to move forward. So you can see my installation remains just few to complete. So mute your audio. Let's talk one or two things. Now, we are going to be using some commands after the installation. We are going to be using some commands after the installation, like cat, CAT, cat. Cat is used to view files. When somebody tells you, cat this file, you want to view it. You don't want to edit it. You don't want to change it. You just want to view it. You use cat command. Now, PWD is to know where am I presently. Since it's not a GUI environment, you want to know your present working directory. That is PWD. CD is to change directory from one directory to another directory. LS is to list directory. I want to list directory. Use list items, list some stuffs. CP is to copy, while MV is to move from one directory to another directory. Now, the way we have a lot of editors on Linux. We have Pico, we have Nano, We have VI test editor. We have Vim, VIM. But VI comes with your installation by default that we can use. Now, to be able to save documents on VI editor, take note, please. Although it's on our notes, the note I shared with you is there. So the way you save on a VI test editor, you escape, press your escape key, press your semicolon, press your W and Q, and enter. That is to save. If you don't want to save, if you want to exit without saving, you still use your escape, semicolon, you will now put Q and exclamation mark. That will help you to escape. So I just want you to understand that, so that by the time we get into the GUI, you will understand better how it goes. Good. My installation is completed. I need to reboot my machine. Can you all see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good.
Okay, good.
I'm having echo.
Yes, sir. I can see.
So, this is my login screen. I log in as root. And my password into the system. I have entered. Look at this prompt. Can you see this prompt?
Yeah.
So I want to show you the difference between this prompt and the dollar prompt. This prompt shows I am a root user. I have permission. Now, I want to create another user that does not have permission. I will use add user command. Add user command, Jeremiah. I will now put password Jeremiah. It will now ask me for the password. So I want to switch user. Okay, I want to exit. Init 0. I'm rebooting my machine. I want to use Jeremiah to log in so that I will show you the difference between that sign. I have my hash sign and my dollar sign, and I've created users, and I show you how to create users by using the command add user. You put the username, you will now put the password, of the new user you are creating. I'm waiting for my screen to come up. Good. I'm logging in as Jeremiah. I have my password. So can you notice the difference? Look at the dollar sign. I have a dollar sign in front of Jeremiah instead of the hash sign to show you I don't have admin rights on this account. I use SU to switch. Okay, now I use SU. Look at Jeremiah. It has changed the prompt. So SU, what SU does is that SU gives that user that does not have rights an admin right. You can see the prompt in front of Jeremiah has changed to an hash sign. That's what I want you to notice. Now, the next thing I want to do here is I want to go back to my roots. I'm rebooting now. The other time I used init0 to reboot. This time I am using reboot to reboot. Take note. I've done two things now. I've created users. I've also shown you a standard user and a root user. Difference between a standard user and a root user is that the root user has hash sign. Hash sign shows you that it has permission, right, admin right, while the standard user has dollar sign that does not have permission. Okay? Now, I want to check up. Do I have internet? I ping, normal pinging. 8888 is Google IP. I don't have, but I'll still check it later. Now, so I need to check my. Take note, if you're working on Linux, every process has its own file. You must know the file you are working with. The first thing I do, let me view the host name, just like computer name. Host name. Host name is localhost. Now, let's change the host name and see. You can see localhost. VI. VI, I told you is an editor. So I want to change, and for you to edit it, you press I. I come here, I remove the local host, I change the local host to who is in the group, to Wole. Escape colon WQ takes me out. Clear. Now, let me cut it again. cat etc cat host name. Can you see? My host name has changed to Wole, not localhost again. That's the first thing. Second thing, so you must understand the file that controls host name is under etc called host name. Now, I want to disable my SE Linux. SE Linux is a security tool that often blocks. So if you don't understand how to configure it, you have to just disable it. How do I disable my SE Linux? I use my VI editor, just like my notepad, my etc SE Linux, then config. You have all this in your file. I press I to be able to edit it, to get to editing mode. You can see it by default is enforcing. I remove the enforcing to make it disabled. To make it disabled, I use escape :WQ. I clear. Okay. I use my, I will still have to reboot for it to take effect. But before that, let me look at getting force. Enforcing. Status. So you can see that it's still enforcing because I have not rebooted the machine. So I have to reboot it now again. I have to reboot my machine for it to take effect. Once it comes up, we'll check if my SE Linux has been disabled or not. Now let's check my SE status. So you can see it disabled. Good. Now, the next thing is to check my network. I can use DHCP to configure. I can use static. But let's check the file. I told you, you make use of your VI test editor, etc sys config network scripts, network dash scripts, if. If you don't know where you go, you use tab. Tab will show you if c fg et0. That is my interface. I'm using DHCP. But you must understand something. Look at unboot. Unboot is no, meaning when I reboot my server, my system, network interface should shut down. I change it to yes. That is all. I want it to still maintain my DHCP. I don't want to give it a static. If I wanted to give it a static DHCP, I will change it to no. Then I will add an IP address and subnet mask to read. Okay. Clear. Now, I have configured it. If you configure any file, you must restart the file. If you don't know how to restart the file, you have to reboot the machine, the entire machine. Now, we'll see how to configure, how to reboot this file by using system ctl restart network. You can see, I can see the internet on my Linux box. That's good. Now, for me to see the IP address I have, I will type IP-A. So my IP address is giving me 192.168.75 dot this. You can see my IP address on the Ethernet 2, Ethernet 0, that's number 2. Look at it down. You will see INET 192.168.75.60. That is my IP for this guy. Now, meaning there's an IP address on this guy. I've set up my IP address. Now, so I gave it another command to show me in detail everything, like NMCLI. That's all it gave me here. Clear? Now, I've shown you how to create users. I want to do list to see what is under this directory. You use list to see what is under the please mute your audio. You use list to see what is under the directory and use your PWD to know the present working directory that you are. I am working on root directory. Somebody is making noise. There is background noise. Okay. So basically, I've shown you how to navigate around. I have my internet, I have everything running. Now, if you want to install application on Linux, it's very, very easy. If I want to do updates, I want to install anything, the purpose of this class is to give you a kind of background into whatsoever you are doing. Now, if you don't know what to do, go online, Google how to install the command to install so and so on CentOS 7. That's the version of the Linux it will give you. Now, on CentOS, it is yum update or yum install widgets. It installs it for me. I'm installing widget. Widget is the command we use to install, to pick directly from a website and install. That is how it will look like. I want to install Google Chrome. This is how it will look like. I will use yum install, meaning I am installing something. If I want to do update, I will type yum update because that is the first thing. Once you are done with your Linux installation, connect it to the internet, then install updates. Let there be updates on your system. Let your OS be updated. I don't want to go into update because update will take a whole lot of my time. That's why I don't want to go into update for now. So So you can see, I'm successful with my widget. Now, I've shown you how to create users. I've shown you how to use users. For example, I have touch, Tola. We can see Tola there. Meaning, touch is to create a document. I've created a document, not a directory of Tola. Can you see? It's telling me Tola is not a directory. I just created a notepad of Tola. If I want to work with Tola, can you see? I've used VI text editor. Tola, how are you doing? Escape semicolon WQ. That's how to save. I clear, meaning I have something on Tola already. Look at Tola here, list. Tola is under here. I can decide to move Tola from here to another place, or CP Tola to var directory, whichever way I want. Meaning I've copied Tola to var directory. Now, let's cut it and look at it. Change directory to var. List. Can you see Tola there? Look at Tola, second to the last option. Meaning I have copied Tola from a directory to this other directory. I just want you to see how to navigate around Linux. I want to show you how to, just how to navigate around Linux and how to make Linux very, very easy. So what I would have done again now is to show you how to change password in case you forget password. But I will not show you that because I don't think you need it now. But I have the steps on the manual I have given unto you. I'm not giving you bulky manual. It's a very short manual that is concise. So if you wanted to do it on your own when you arrive, you should be able to do that. But with what we are doing now is just to show you how to get started with Linux and how to navigate with Linux. Now, I'm on var directory. If I do my present working directory, it shows me where I am /var. If I want to move away from my /var, cd ... takes me away from my var. Let me choose pwd again. Can you see? I have left var for root. / is root list. This is my root bin. So I cannot choose to go to cd etc where I was before, then list again. This is my etc files. These are all I have in my ect directory. Now, at this point, I don't want to drive you further. I want to check up. Does anybody have a question? This is not the basic navigation. This gets you started to Linux. So any other thing you need to do that I have not touched, you can easily Google it and use the command I have taught you and the idea I have taught you to proceed. If you are not using Linux, you are using Ubuntu, you will check up how to use that command in Ubuntu. That is, you are not using CentOS, you will see how to use that command in Ubuntu to see it working for you. So at this point, if you understand this well, you should become a great Linux administrator. So you cannot come up to start doing a whole lot of great work on Linux as time goes on. I want to entertain question at this point. I want to entertain question at this point. Unmute your mic and ask me your question. So ask me your question. For caller only, your mic is not too clear. Maybe you can type your question if you need to ask me. Just you see the show conversation chat box on the top. Just click it and type your questions so that I'll be able to answer you very well. Then for Wale, I need your question. Jeremiah, David, you can ask your question before we sign out for today. Any question?
Can you hear me now, please?
Yes, I can hear you now.
I want to find out if I log in as admin, does that have advantage about users login?
Can you come say that again?
Logging as an admin, does it have any advantage over user login?
Other users, yes, it does. If you log in as an admin or as a root user, there are some things you can do that standard user cannot do. You can install files. Standard user cannot install files. Standard user will have restrictions. It will tell the standard users, talk to administrator. So you will have some restrictions on the network. So
okay,
that's
clear. That's clear. Then apart from that, I've changed from a standard user to admin using. I want to change back to standard user. I don't know how to go back to it.
To change back to standard user, log out, reboot your system. At the prompt, don't log in with root. Log in with that standard user and the password. You will be in.
Okay. Thank you very much. That's clear.
You're welcome. Other questions? David, talk to me. David, can you hear me? Talk to me.
Yes, I can hear you, sir.
Do you have any questions?
No, not for now. I'm not with my system, so when I have to practice, if I have any issues, it will be easy to ask a question then.
Exactly. So I make it class concise enough that you can comprehend and easily start up with.
Yeah, it's understandable at this juncture, but when you are practicing,
you understand it better.
Yes.
Okay, that's good. So I've given you the manual. So the next thing I'm going to give you people, I'm going to design a certificate of attendance or participation and send to everybody's mail. So
all right, sir.
If there's no other question, I just wanted to particularize it. Download the ISO or the CD. Download an ISO of CentOS and install it. And if you have any issue, talk to me. Do you understand?
No problem, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you all. You made my day today. God bless you. So I'm logging out everybody now. That's the end for today's meeting. Bye.
Very much.